How's it going, guys? We are live. Welcome to the Bags to Riches podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ginn. I'm with Hunter Raisch from Phoenix, Arizona. And this is going to be a shocking one because this is shocking to me when I found out. He is doing 15 deals a month in Phoenix, Arizona. One of the craziest, most saturated markets that everyone says. Everyone's like, I'm in Phoenix. There's no deals. You can't win this market. And Hunter's out here doing deals. And before you're like, oh, I call BS on this. This guy's not doing it. He is. I get a lot of requests to go on the podcast, and I ask every single guest, I'm like, hey, send me the HUDs. Hunter sent me the HUDs. He's legit. He's doing these deals. Very impressive deals. I've underwritten them. I've looked at them. Wow. I'm impressed by Hunter here. So what I want to do is really break down his business, and most importantly, figure out what he's doing to make a saturated market like Maricopa County fit, like work, and how you can do the same thing in your market. So Hunter, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. So tell me, what is your story with getting into real estate and specifically wholesaling?
Man, I went to Arizona State for college, and I got kind of a wonky degree. I was there for a while, like almost 7 years, I think, for undergrad. And, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then so I got some sales job in Colorado, and then I did that for a year to get sales experience, because they tell you get a year of sales experience and then go jump into, whatever you want to do, because you can get a good job. But after I left that at my year mark, I moved back to Arizona, and I still had no idea what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do real estate just because I know, most of the wealthiest people have real estate. That's kind of all I went off of. And that's just something that I was interested in. So I went on. I didn't have my license. I didn't plan on being a realtor, but I was looking online, and I found a job on Craigslist for a company that does investment stuff here in Phoenix. And so I just kind of lucked out, and I fell into that, and then started working and started off grinding the normal way, bandit signs and, trying to run away from code violations and stuff like that. And then started buying a couple properties. I did that for a few years. And then a couple years ago, I decided that I wanted to open my own brokerage, because I wanted to buy more flips and kind of do some different stuff and be able to focus on different aspects of investing. So I ended up getting my broker's license in November of 2019. And then I opened my real estate brokerage, Property Hub, at the same time, but we really didn't get started till January of 2020. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought maybe I would do some flips, do some wholesale deals, get some listings. I had a couple of friends of mine that got their licenses, but they didn't know what they were doing. They were just new. And then got an office space, and then started off working out of my kid's bedroom with like three of us. And then I rented one of those Regis office spaces for like $500 a month, And then I ended up getting a small office space, and now I'm in the same building, but we got a bigger spot. And then just kind of started doing what I was used to doing myself, but wholesaling and doing a couple flips, not really, mostly wholesale deals. And then I had to learn kind of how to start running it as not me being the one person that I was used to being the guy. I'm going to go close the deal. I'm going to talk to the sellers. I'm going to try to build the relationships myself, to like transitioning to training a bunch of guys that don't know anything about real estate, so I can build my team bigger. And then I had some other friends from college. Luckily, I was in a fraternity here at ASU. So I had a lot of friends that are around. I'm 31. So I had a lot of friends around the similar age or younger that wanted to, they're in that transition period where they're not sure what job they're going to get. So one of my friends moved from Washington, came down here, got his license. He had a good job there. But then we just started working. And now I think we've got, obviously January, when we started, we were doing pretty good. We were maybe getting 2-3 deals, but I was kind of doing most of it myself. And then COVID hit like immediately. And so I had just started my company, and we were just kind of rolling, and then COVID happened. And when that happened, especially here in Phoenix, everyone just canceled all their deals.
Yep.
So I had to walk away from a lot of earnest money. And now, obviously, I wish I kept those houses, because I could have made a lot of money on them. But so that was kind of a hit, but we had to push through it, and multiple, late nights, 3:00 in the morning, sleeping on for only a couple hours, but we pushed through it. Now I've got at my brokerage, I've got 29 agents, I think now.
Wow.
And on our wholesale team's about 15 people, but that's comprised of, some of the guys that deal with direct to seller, some agents that are licensed, and then project managers and, my guy that sends wires and stuff like that. So we've just kind of grown from there. And so honestly, I just kind of stumbled into real estate, and you just, you got to, if you stick to it, a lot of people try to do wholesaling and then they give up on it. But if you just stick to it and do it, then you start getting deals and things just kind of fall into place. So
wow.
And now we're here.
Okay. I mean, Hunter, you make it seem very easy, but for a lot of people starting out, like you kind of makes it like, hey, you just start, and that's the honest truth. But you scaled it up very impressive level. So I got a lot I want to break down here. So I really want to start off in the beginning. So in the beginning, you're talking about bandit signs, code violations, people run after you. I lived the same life. Was that your primary marketing channel starting out? Like what's your first wholesaling deal? Like how did that all happen?
Honestly, I was pretty lucky. I was working with a company here, and I was able to represent a buyer that had funds to close on deals and stuff. So I would just go out, try to find a deal that would work for them. And so I thought primarily it would be bandit signs. I got really good at it's hard to throw bandit signs in Arizona because it's like rock. There's not like grass and stuff. So there's a lot of technique, and it's hot. So, but I was doing like 50 of those a day, and then every day for a couple of years. And but just through that and just believing, my biggest thing is believing that everyone you talk to, there is value there, and you can get a deal out of that. And if you go in, that's what I try to teach my guys. I'm like, if you go into a conversation thinking that this person's not going to sell or you're not going to get anything out of it, then you might not. But I had got people that I'm like, maybe you are going to sell your house to me. And then a year later they sell, or their brother sells their house. And that doesn't even come from the marketing. So, but I also had some experienced guys around me that kind of helped guide me through the process. And, I was appreciative of that because, when you first start, you're like a deer in headlights. You just have no idea what's going on. And you have sellers asking questions about your contract, and you just have no idea what the contract says.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So having, somewhat of a mentor to kind of walk you through the process and help you out with it is huge. I think without that, people just give up frequently. It's, it's good to buy the courses and stuff, but you also have to have somebody with you that you can just go to for questions and stuff. So I was lucky that I had that. And then I just had instilled with me, like, if you do this and you stick with real estate and wholesaling, you will make way more money than your friends. You'll make more money than your parents. And you just got to stick with it. And you can't, some of it seems weird and it seems fake. That's what I tell all my friends. Yeah. It seems like not real. And I have friends that call some of my other buddies like, is that real? Are you really doing those deals? And we're like, yeah, it's just hard work. And it's, it's just persistence. And when you're dealing with sellers, it's just learning that all rejection is good and trying to take value out of every conversation that you have, and not going into it thinking that, oh, this is a dead lead or anything like that. So for me, it was just mostly persistence and being a people person and just talking to everybody. And
yeah, 100%. I mean, it's weird. I mean, everyone thought I was a drug dealer in high school, all my friends, just because I was getting checks from bandit signs. And it's a funny one, man, but it's a weird business. It's cool for you and me to talk about because we've done wholesale deals. We do plenty of deals, and we know this stuff's real. We know people will sell for a discount. They're willing to trade cash for the convenience of the sale and just, hey, get a discount and you make money. We've done it. We've seen cash buyers. They'll buy it and we get a check. We've seen it. But for a lot of new people watching this, it's got to be completely crazy to think, because I used to think the same thing. Like, there's no way someone's willing to sell a property for that big of a discount, and they will hug you at the end of the transaction. I think it's just so important that people understand that first deal changes everything. It shifts that belief for you to actually know you can go out there and start doing deals. So my next question here is, when did you start scaling up your business, and how did you start doing that?
So I would say probably 6 months in. So like middle of 2020, I maybe had like 6 people, and it's like, my friend's little brother and like some other guy. And I'm like, I don't know, you're not really a sales guy, but you want to work, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just making stuff up as we go. And so I had some guys like that at the beginning that weren't really sales type people, but they believed in what I was doing, and they were willing to stick with me in like, my kid's bedroom and like believe that it was real. That's the hardest part, is convincing someone. Like, it can get frustrating. I'm sure that it's people are like, oh, you're full of it. No way. You don't. I'm like, I'm not even bragging about making money or doing deals. You're just trying to say that I am. And, so it's hard to get people to believe in that, because they wanted the security of a regular job and stuff. And then once they step into it and they stick with it, they do well. So then we kind of just what happened really for us was we were doing the wholesaling stuff. But I started noticing some of the guys that had started with me, they're better suited for other things. So I decided, instead of hiring, I tried hiring VAs. It just didn't work very well for me. So I said, instead of that, I know that I can bring in a certain amount of revenue to be able to cover a salary for this guy to help me out with my accounting, because maybe he's just a more non-social guy. So I just slowly said, hey man, I like you. You're a good person. I know that you want to stick with me for a long time. You don't fit in this sales role, but I need help with these other things. I need help writing checks or couriers or managing leads and stuff like that. So it started off with one of my friend's little brother, and I just had him start helping me with accounting and earnest money and managing leads and helping, because I was getting kind of swarmed when I had 10 brand new agents just lined up at my office nonstop. And it was crazy. There was one day I had 87 phone calls and over 9 hours of talk time just from the guys on my team. And so I just had to do it. I had to bite the bullet. When you're expanding, it's hard, because you're like, oh, we're finally making revenue, but now it's gone. Now it's going to this guy for a salary. But then I just decided that's the direction I'm going to go. I have a lot of friends that do it by themselves with a couple of assistants, but I wanted to grow a bigger business and a company that could help work for me and give better opportunities to other people. So once I started doing that, I noticed that it was helpful for me. And I'm like, wow, this takes a lot of time off my plate. I can now train my guys better and get more revenue. So then I moved another guy into an employee role, hired a transaction coordinator. And I remember when I hired her too, I told her, I don't know if I'm going to have transactions for you to make money on, and I can't pay you a salary, because I just didn't know if I'd have enough, to be a sustainable income if you're only doing 5 to 6 deals a month. But she stuck with me, and now obviously we do enough, and now I can afford to put her on a salary plus get transaction fees. So, and then when that happened, I realized, well, I just moved all these people to employees, which is hurting my revenue, because now I don't have as many sales guys. Yeah. And then I started posting on Instagram, not about hiring, just about kind of what I was doing. And then just people started calling and just wanted to come over. And so I helped them get their real estate license, helped them study for their tests. And the ones that don't have their license, they work as either assistants or other things. And then, there's a lot of changes that we get made. I realized that I need to have one team that's focusing on getting in buyers to buy wholesale deals from us, because that's extremely important. If you get the deals, but you don't have the buyers, then it's pointless. So I just kind of started going like that, and people started calling, and I just started filling roles as I could. And the more revenue we generated, there's obviously some hiccups where I had too many employees and I realized I was losing money, but then bringing in new people helped bring in more revenue, and then just slowly trying to get better since then.
Wow. Okay. And right now, I mean, you got a lot of agents, you do a lot of investing. I mean, which one's your favorite?
It changes. I like this industry a lot, because you can just have a completely different day from one day to the next. You might be dealing with a seller for 4 hours, or you might be having to check KPIs or something like that another day. So for me, I really enjoyed, I kind of got tired of negotiating with sellers myself all the time. You get burnt out. I've done it for 6 years now, and you just get a little burnt out with that. So I really got into the flipping aspect of it, where kind of what happened with us was we were doing some wholesale deals, but it kind of started with one house where we got it, we couldn't sell it, but I thought it was a deal. And I just said, you know what, whatever, I'm going to prove our buyers wrong. I'm going to buy it myself. I'll just flip it myself. So I bought it myself, and then I put in like $15K into it. We ended up making $40,000 in like 45 days on that house. But none of our buyers wanted it. They thought it wasn't a deal. So I figured, okay, well, I must be pretty good at underwriting these things myself. So once that started, I kind of started committing to buying some more houses. So we maybe pick up 2 or 3 a month to flip, which also helps supplement my wholesale company to help kind of keep some people staffed and things like that. Yeah, right now I like the flipping aspect of it, but I really started getting hands-on with it for a little bit because I knew construction costs. I think it's important for a wholesaler or any investor to know how construction costs works, because everyone says buy the deal right at the right price, but really I've seen more people get screwed over by a contractor than by paying too much for a house.
Oh, yeah.
So I started going with my contractors to some of the houses for a couple months, working on some plumbing stuff or just learning from them, doing baseboards, little things like that. And some people thought that was weird that I was doing that. They're like, why don't you just have someone do it for you? But I'm learning now. So I'm learning more about the construction than I knew before. I'm picking up little things that help me be able to negotiate a deal with the seller better, where I can say, hey, the ductwork is laid out this way. That's going to have to be replaced because of X, Y, and Z. Or, there's a lot of labor intensity when it comes to like laying rock down. It seems simple, but it takes a long time. If you do it yourself, it looks bad. So just learning all that stuff helped me understand the remodel costs better, how it works, which also in turn helps you negotiate better, because you can point out different things in a house and you can kind of walk into it more experienced. Or if I'm talking with another wholesaler, they're going to respect me a lot more because I know about the construction aspect, and I'm not just some guy just throwing some random offer out there. I can actually back up my numbers with real information on the pricing of the construction. So if I come into a deal and I'm offering $200K and you're offering $200K, but I can back up my $200,000 offer by saying, look, this is why, and I'm talking to them about different repairs, they're going to trust me more than the other guy who just threw the offer out there. So that was a lot of fun for me, but then I got old for a while. But my favorite part is just watching my guys be able to do deals, and now I get to write them checks. So I like being able to come in the office and put out fires. I really enjoy conflict. I thrive on conflict. So, and there's always deals blowing up. So I just like to put out fires. That's kind of what I like to do all day. So I'd say flipping is the most fun, but it can also be the scariest because there's a lot of risk involved. And if you don't make enough money, I just did a deal. I only made $4,000 on a flip, and I could have probably made 10 wholesaling it. And that was a lot of time and money that was gone for a return. But we do enough volume that it makes up for it. But I just like the atmosphere of watching guys excited to have a career and them coming up to you like, man, I just thought I could do something like this. I always thought I had to work at whatever my 9-to-5 job is my whole life. And so that's the fun part for me.
Definitely. I mean, it's crazy to think. I mean, some people do say that 9-to-5 is the safest thing, but in my opinion, it's the least safe. You get fired any day and you're capped to how much money you can make. But really when it comes down to contractors trying to screw you, I mean, what are some tips someone who's getting into flipping can know about how not to get screwed from a contractor?
Yeah, I would say if you are wholesaling a deal to somebody, try to avoid recommending contractors in general, because I've done that a couple of times and I've regretted it. But if you don't want to get screwed by a contractor, I mean, I've seen a lot of investors go, they get one bid from one person that was referred to them from their friend that did their aunt's house. Like they did like the flooring at their aunt's house for 10 times the cost that it actually cost. And so they call that person over, and a $20,000 rehab is like 60 because those guys have higher margins. So then they lose money on that side, but at least the job is done right. So it's not as bad. On the other side of the coin, I've seen guys that get a bid that's written on a piece of paper with a pencil at the house that's like $15,000 less than every other normal bid or what it should be. And they're like, this is the guy I'm going to go with. I'm like, have you seen any of his jobs? Have you seen and I don't mean pictures, because I've had contractors show me pictures of their projects before. I'm like, okay, that looks good. And then I'm like, this looks terrible. And then you just pulled that off the internet. So my recommendation is, you got to be willing to, if you're making an investment in a flip, you got to be willing to have at least 5 to 10 contractors go through. I mean, I've sat in the house and had 20 contractors come through in one day. That's just all I did all day. And then I realized that's not a good idea, because then they were stacking up and getting pissed at me. But I would say going with the cheapest guy is usually a very, very bad idea. But don't just go on Angie's list. I mean, this is kind of some people don't like this advice, but when you're driving a neighborhood, if you're driving for dollars or doing anything like that, there's dumpsters there. There's people working at a dumpster. There's contractors inside that house. You could go talk to them. I take pictures of every car I drive by on the freeway that I know when I look that company up, they're not going to have a website, but they might be a licensed contractor still, but they're not advertising or anything, but they are a legitimate licensed guy that just does flooring, or they're a guy that just does HVAC. And if I've got 20 pictures of cars I've driven by, you don't have to do anything. I mean, you just take a picture, or go to Home Depot and sit at Home Depot and wait for the truck to pull up that has a bunch of slabs of granite in it with no markings on it at all, and go up to that guy and talk to that guy and say, hey man, I want you to do granite for me. You do granite because he's probably doing a job for somebody else, but you can just go directly to him. And for cosmetics, it's not a big deal. So Home Depot, just hanging out there, and you can meet a lot of contractors that pull up with cabinets, they pull up with granite, they pull up with any kind of trailer that's unmarked, and those are the guys that are actually doing the work. So I've gotten most of my contractors by stopping at dumpsters and talking to guys that were just working on it, because that's a contractor that someone's agreed to hire that's doing the job, and I can go visit what work he's done before in person and call a couple people that have used him. And then, I just go to Home Depot and I just hang out there and I wait to find guys that, if I need a granite guy, I could sit there for 20 minutes and find like 10 granite guys. And you just can't be afraid to get out of the car and go talk to them, because they're always going to be off put at first. They're like, hey man, no, I don't want. I'm like, no, it's cool. I want to work with you, man. I want to, because nobody does that. Yeah. So if you go and you talk to people about, then you'd be surprised what the results are. I've gotten my best contractors by doing that, by just going up and asking to them. And I jumped out of the car at a red light and ran all the way down to this guy's. I'm like, dude, give me your number, give me your number, give me your number. But my biggest thing is you want to get their number. You don't want to give them your number because they won't call you. Whether it's an investor or a seller or a contractor, I don't give them my number. They ask for my card. I usually tell them I don't have cards. Like, I don't have cards. Let me write down your phone number, because now I have your number. That's what I want, because they're never going to call. So that would be my best advice, is if, get a minimum of 3 contractors to come look at it and make sure that you go see work they've done before, and avoid those big box websites that get you contractors, because they're just going to overprice you and it's going to take a long time. And if you get one you trust, you don't have to go check up on the project at all, really. You can go once a week. And I got one guy I don't even really check up on it at all, because I've been doing enough deals with him. So, but yeah, there's plenty of avenues to get them. It's just the willingness to do it. Are you too scared to talk to them, or are you going to get out of your car and do it? So,
yeah, I'm telling you right now, back in the day, I made plenty of mistakes. Like, hey, can I get your card? Here's my card. Huh? Call me. Yeah. This is with motivated sellers too. You got to be aggressive, even if they're motivated to sell for a $50,000 deal. You still have to call them. I think that's a huge one that you said. I think a lot of people need to write down. But I found my best drywall guy, Home Depot. Check out, easy. That's a huge one. But what I really want to talk about is your wholesaling and your investing business now. So you said you're doing roughly 15 deals a month. What are that looking like? So if I have a pie chart, how many are going to be wholesale deals? How many are flips, wholesales? What's creative financing? Like, for all those 15, what is that kind of looking like?
So I'd say creative financing is few and far between. Yeah. I did a subject to on a deal once, and then it worked out until the lender called the loan due and said, I want the money.
Due on sale clause.
Perfect. The one thing that isn't supposed to happen on this, even if I kept the old insurance, I did everything right. And then so I refinanced out of that deal. And it's just knowledge, right? Like listening to podcasts, looking things up. I'm like, what do? I got to refinance this somehow. Yeah. So I got a non-QM loan, non-qualified mortgage from a lender that, it's a little bit higher interest rates, like 5.5%, but they don't check W-2s. They don't want your tax returns. They just want 2 months bank statements, and they'll check your credit, and they'll give you a 30-year loan. So, nice. And when you start a new business, if you jump into wholesaling, you're not going to have that W-2. Even if you're a realtor, you're not going to have that. You got to have 2 years of experience. And so so I went through that route. I refinanced it, and then I lease optioned it to a guy. And so I was able to, I connected with another investor here that I knew did lease options just from seeing online that he was doing. I called him. I said, can you please help me lease option this house? They helped me lease option it. And we kind of split some of the money there. And then I was able to save that deal. So I like those. For me, I think it's important to know a lot about them and then stabilize what you're really good at before you start jumping in trying to do a bunch of different things. Because I see people, I'm going to subject to, I'm going to lease out. I'm like, just do a couple of deals first, instead of trying to do, everything. So most of the deals that we would do, I'd say, if we're going to do 15, I'd say we do about 15 that are wholesale every month. Wow. And we'll close on, and like, we'll keep, we might wholesale it, but I'll buy and then hold on to for a real sale later, maybe 3-4 a month.
Wow.
Depending on the month. And so sometimes we get a lot of deals from other wholesalers. It might be a smaller wholesaler, but I'll commit to it. I'll say, look, I'll buy that deal. I'll go non-refundable earnest money from you. And I might have the intent of wholesaling it to another investor, but I'll buy it anyway. If I don't find a buyer, I'll close on it and I'll eat it if I got to eat a loss on it, or if I can only make $2,000. But I just saved that wholesaler. I got that guy a deal. I was the one that bought it. I'm the one that funded it. I didn't assign it to somebody else that didn't close on time. We get a lot that way. And then, sometimes, if it's a deal like that, we bought a couple off the MLS. I've got some guys that represent me on the MLS that send offers. There's deals on there. You just got to be able to.
Are you wholesaling on the MLS?
So a lot of the ones that we do on the MLS, I'm looking at it to keep it, but if I can't, if the numbers don't work, all these other investors just cancel things. But I don't want to do that because it just, you look bad and you get a bad reputation. You're not going to get any pocket listings, or they're not going to do deals with you in the future. So I look at it to keep it. If it doesn't work to keep it, the nice thing is, over doing this for a while, I've had a lot of exposure to friends and family and other investors that want to do deals with me, or maybe they did some flips on their own, but there's just too much work because they got a full-time job. So they now JV with us on deals like that, to where when I'm at, because I think we have 13 projects going on right now that are remodels. And obviously you get tapped out. So, but now I have them coming in, and we're setting up kind of a flipper academy type deal where they can come in, and I'll still have skin in the game in the deal, but I might do they'll put 80% of the money in, I'll put in 20% of the money and run the project for them. And then we'll do a split on the back end of it. So I can buy more of those instead of just cancel it. But yeah, we get them off the MLS. I mean, we're a brokerage, so sometimes we can just get commission on the deal, it kind of works out. If it's a $300,000 home, we can just move it to somebody for the exact price that we got it for, and keep the commission. But it's the commitment of closing on it that's huge for us. Yeah. So sometimes I'll buy it from. I've done 3 deals recently where I bought it off the MLS. Nobody wanted to deal with the post possession, where the seller's staying in the house after close of escrow for 30 days. No one wants to deal with the tenant that they have to evict, or even a 30-day notice, but because they're worried about the moratorium, the eviction moratorium or whatever, all that stuff. But if you understand contracts, when their lease agreement is over, they can only get it extended because of the non-payment. But if the contract is over for them to be in the house, you can evict them. I've done it multiple times. So, and it just goes through like that, because it's not that they're not paying. They just need to be out. They're just trespassing. You're giving them a 30-day notice. But a lot of other investors don't know that. So I can go on the MLS and pick up a deal like that where no one wants to touch it. I just did one in Tempe where we bought it and I held it for a month and a half, let the seller get out, and I didn't do anything. I relisted it on the MLS and sold it for like $30,000 more than I bought it for off the MLS like a month and a half later. And so I did another one in Scottsdale, the same thing. I bought it, got the tenant out of it, and just relisted it without a tenant in there, and we sold it for $35K more. Wow. So some of those things it's kind of getting a little creative. And once I start doing flips, I have projects in different areas. So I got lucky on one that we got that no one wanted to touch it because it was like a year-long lease and it was a terrible rent and it's just not a good deal. But I owned the manufactured home across the street, and I just finished it and I was going to rent it out. So now I'm having them move out of that house into a nicer house that's remodeled for the same rent that they're getting, and I'll just take a little loss on that. But then I can remodel this house and I'm getting it at a steal for like $40,000, less than I needed it for, because I was able to manufacture a scenario, no pun intended, because they're manufactured homes, but a scenario where I get the tenant to move into another property. So I think a lot of it's just being creative. That's how you get the MLS ones. They're just staying on top of them. A lot of these agents overlist every house that they put on there by way too much. And you can't be afraid to tell them, hey, man, I need this for $80,000 less. And you can yell at me now, but I'll call you in a month. And all the other investors are like, I'm not going to offer on that. I don't have time to follow up on that. But if you're the one in their ear, they're going to go with you. So, but yeah, so we do maybe like 1 or 2 hotels a month, and then we'll pick up like 2 ones that we're actually going to fully remodel and then either refinance to the BRRRR method or, flip it. So,
wow. Jeez. Okay. So not a lot of people know about that, about the eviction moratorium, but that's kind of skirting a little bit around that here in Florida, but it's pretty good. So what I want to know here is what's your marketing? You're saying you're getting a lot from other wholesalers, but for this huge operation coming in and out, what is your marketing looking like?
I don't do a lot, to be honest with you. It's very hard to train when you want to expand and grow your business to be bigger and you bring on new people. Training somebody to be able to negotiate directly with a seller is very difficult, and you're spending a lot of money on those leads. And so I kept finding myself like, give me the phone. And then I would go close the deal myself. And I'm like, why am I closing? I'm closing this deal myself, but I'm still paying this guy, but this guy's not learning because I just did it. So, but then you might send out 10,000 letters. I was doing 10 or 20,000 letters a month. And, you don't know which one of those is the deal. And so you just give it to your people and hope that one of them, you don't know what you missed. It's very hard to track that unless you're doing it yourself. You have a smaller operation. So we do like Facebook and Instagram ads through a company that does it. So we get a few deals here and there from that. Most of it is closing a deal with somebody, like not necessarily directly a seller, but maybe like an agent that had a pocket listing or something like that. And I'm going to go out, I'm going to go perform on that contract and buy it. And they know in Phoenix, yes, it is oversaturated, but that's a good thing. Because if you do the right thing and you do what you say you're going to do, you're going to be separated from everybody else.
Yeah.
Because saturated markets just have a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing. That's usually what that means. So if I can come in there like, man, you came in, you closed on time, you put earnest money there, and it takes some stones because I do non-refundable earnest money quite frequently. So we'll do like $10,000 non-refundable, or I did one that was $100,000 non-refundable earnest money. So even though it was like a $200,000 house, but I was just like, here, if I give you this, will you do that? So I think it's, you can't be scared. You got to understand your underwriting. But yeah, most of it is if I go and perform on that, then I want to go talk to that person, develop a relationship with them, and they're going to trust me. I have wholesalers that just call me first or call some of the guys on my team first, and they say, hey man, I got another one for you. Because I try to help new wholesalers a lot where they're like, man, I have this deal. I don't know what to do. Where another investor might come in and try to be a shark and say, hey, I'll give you $3,000 for that. That's awesome. And then they're going to go wholesale it and make 40. Right. Yeah. So I don't do that. So I'm like, hey man, here's the deal. Just so you know, I can sell this for $40,000 more than you have this for. Let me help you get it under contract. I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to help you, even though it's your business. And then let's go ahead and split the profits, but don't sell this to somebody and make $3,000. And since I do the right thing and I help them with it, they're like, man, you are my guy, because I was about to sell it to this other person. And, if you're not in it for the quick buck and you're in it for the long run, you start building but if you can have 20 people that bring you deals first, you're going to get a lot of houses just off. You don't really have to do much marketing. So my biggest thing with my team is like, you got to have integrity, help people out. Don't try to just scheme into getting a huge fee on one deal and then, whatever, move on to the next, because you're always going to have to be hunting and always going to have to be doing marketing. So we still do the marketing and it works, but I try to focus on building rapport with different agents, especially. They're the ones knocking doors. Agents are the ones they're already cold calling. You don't have to be an agent to have a relationship with an agent. So you can get a list of agents and call them, or I usually will look on the MLS and see who's double-ended the commission on the cheapest houses for sale. And I call them like, I know that you sold that to somebody else. That's awesome. I would have paid more. How do I become that guy next time? Right. So that's kind of what I try to focus on, is those type of relationships. And then that way the deals are coming to you, and instead of you having to go chase them down. So, take them to games, or, just send them thank you cards or whatever. And I've found a lot that helping out newer wholesalers that we're going to get screwed over on a deal, they're just loyal to you for life after that.
Oh yeah.
you help them out. And they're like, I can't believe, why would you do that? And I have other investors that do wholesaling that are like, man, why would you do that? I'm like, because now this guy's never going to bring you a deal. He's going to bring them all to me. So for the next 5 years or however long he's doing it. So, and then you grow with them. And I know some guys here in Phoenix that I did some deals with when they were smaller, and they've got big companies now. And I've had a relationship with them for a long time. So now we can collaborate on deals. So I'm really mostly based on relationships and doing what we say we're going to do and communicating, and not going into a deal with the intent of getting like renegotiating the price or anything like that. Just going in with a fair offer. And we do have a little bit of an advantage because we can come in and say, we're some of my guys, an agent that's doing it, we can go to the seller and say, look, here's your options. We can list it for you at this price. I can't guarantee what it's going to sell for. I'm confident it'll sell for this. And here's how much commission you're going to pay, or we'll buy it at this price. I'll take it down at this price. It's probably going to be a little less, but I'll close it and I'll take it down. And if those two options don't work for them, then I can say, hey, look, here's what I'm going to do. I don't want your deal at this price. I can't guarantee that I think you want too much money for the house. Why don't you just give us a contract? And then let me contact some of my other investors and see if one of them would want to pay this much for the house. But then that way I have full disclosure with them. And so they know that I'm not trying to sneak around. I don't have to tell them that, oh, hey, it's a contractor. Come and make sure you tell them you're a contractor to go walk the house instead of a investor looking to buy it, which is a common thing that when I walk a house for a wholesaler, they tell me that, oh, hey, just tell them you're my contractor, you're my partner, right? So I don't like to do that. I'm like, hey man, yeah, that's a really bad price, but I might have somebody that would pay more for that that I can ask, but I'm going to give you full disclosure, but I'm not going to do it without a contract because then, they might go around you. So I try to work a little bit creatively and give sellers the full scope of what their options are, and then let them decide from there. And more often than not, they decide to just sell it to us. Wow. For less, even though but because I've given them the whole spectrum and I'm not trying to hold anything back. So the only downside with that is you're not going to make a whole lot of money on those because you're telling them, what the fair market value is. But sometimes people just walk in the door. I'm sure you've had it where they're like, man, I want to sell my house for this. I don't care that it's cheap. I just want to get rid of it. I don't want my kids to have inheritance or whatever it is. So, you get some of those every once in a while, but I'm more of a volume guy. I believe in doing a lot of deals rather than relying on a couple deals that make a lot of money.
100%. I found the same thing with a motivated seller, just like JVing with another wholesaler. Money's not everything to a motivated seller. And again, money's not everything to a JV deal. Yep. They would rather get less of a commission. They know that, hey, Hunter's going to go buy my house, non-refundable, and he's just going to do it. Oh my gosh, there's so many deals that just go up in flames. It's crazy. So I think it's pretty important that you broke down how the marketing is so low, but it's just because you built such a great rapport with wholesalers and agents. I mean, someone looking right now, they want to start doing not your exact model, but maybe they're in Milwaukee or maybe they're out in North Carolina and they want to start getting with other wholesalers and starting to do this type of thing, getting with agents and start getting deals like this. How can someone brand new or kind of medium or not really used to JVing, they're kind of like mine, I don't want to deal with anyone, start opening up and start working with other people? What's your advice for someone to find these type of people, the JV and work with?
I was just in Milwaukee for the Suns game. Oh, they lost.
Yeah.
The Suns, but
you can't beat Giannis.
My advice to them would be, I mean, if you think about it, as a wholesaler, your job is to get deals. Your job is to get houses, and not every house is going to sell. You have to accept that. So if you put in all of this time, if you're brand new, you're not going to have investors. You think you do, but all you did was go on Facebook and add every email from every other wholesaler in the planet that put their email on there. And so, that can work for some people, but really having relationships with actual investors that are real buyers, that are the end buyer, not JV, not 10 JVs in a row. That's what's going to help you get top dollar for your property. So if you are getting your first couple deals, I think it's important to try to find investors and stuff too. But I've seen a lot of, sorry, I just saw the pop-up of somebody.
Yeah, it popped up. Someone commented your social on there. So I want people to look at it while they're listening. Sorry about that.
Yeah, they. I lost track of what I was saying there. But yeah, I would say don't spend. People will get a contract. They might have 30 days to sell it, and they'll spend all 30 days exhausting every avenue they possibly can to sell that deal. And if it's not a deal, you got to just let it go, or you need to reach out to help. But find guys that talk to them, make sure they're legitimate, make them show you how. That's my biggest thing is like make them show you settlement statements of deals they've closed, and then go with that's what I ask everybody. I'm like, you don't have to believe me. I tell sellers that. I tell realtors that. I'm like, man, look at my settlement statements. I'm a real buyer. You can look at my flips. You can see deals I've closed. Like, I don't need to sit here and tell you how cool I am. And you're not going to believe me because I have a t-shirt and a backwards hat anyway. So, but I would tell them it's like you got to focus on honing your skills on getting deals from these sellers. I've seen way too many people they'll get one contract and they overpaid for it. And they spend a month trying to sell that one deal and it doesn't work. And then they give up on wholesaling and they say it doesn't work. But you need to find somebody or, a larger company that's going to explain to you maybe why it's not a deal or help you sell it. Because I've had guys in here that we might make $5,000 on a deal. And then I'll see that they moved it for $25,000 more. And I'm happy for them because I didn't have that buyer. I can't do that. So, I'm happy for them. So just, you can't, like you said, it's not, money's not everything on every deal. It's your time is important and you're going to stress yourself out trying to move every deal by yourself, trying to sell it for top dollar and do it all on your own. You're going to get stressed out and you're not going to get deals done. And 6 months later, you're going to feel like you wasted your time. So finding a trustworthy, maybe it's another wholesaler or ideally it's a larger wholesale company that will be able to explain to you why it's a deal or what the price is. They're going to help you move that deal. Sure, you might make less money, but now you can focus on going back to your leads. Because what happened when you were trying to spend all that time selling this deal that may or may not be a deal, you just let all those leads go dry and you didn't follow up with them because you're frantically trying to sell your house to somebody. And that's important. But if at the beginning, it's important to get experience and do deals, and experience is what matters. So having somebody help you, and then eventually you can slowly build your own buyers list and then start doing your disposition on your own. But hone your skills with the sellers first. That is the hardest part. So that would be my advice is don't waste all your time trying to sell one deal. Keep trying to get more deals. And you know how it is. You think you got a check coming in a couple months and you're like, heck yeah, man, I'm going to get it. It happened when I first started. I got it. I made my first over 10K for the first time in my life. And I was all excited. And I took my foot off the gas, made $0 the next month. I'm like, oh, wow, I guess that's not how this works. I have to keep, you got to keep at it. But that's what can happen to anybody if they just spend all their time trying to move one and then, back to the drawing board, and then they get burnt out. So it's better to JV at the beginning if you can, even if you're going to take a hit on what you're going to make. That's just my opinion.
100%. I cannot agree with you more than that. I think if anyone's judging if you have a t-shirt and a backwards cap, you're not going to last very long in this business.
I know. I always laugh when I
found that from experience. If you're judging someone that got tattoos or short hair or long, you're not going to last. The best investors, you'll never even know from just looking from what they look like. You'll never guess. Yeah. It's really what's up here. The most important part.
Yep.
So let's get some questions from the audience here and see what we can do here. But so we got some great one. Matt Turner says Hunter is the GOAT. Oh my gosh. Matt says Hunt's on the Hunt's going the HUDs, baby. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. Another day learning. What is up, One Arrow? How's it going? Let's see here. Guys, please like and subscribe. Thank you. House Dealer. Let's see here. Check ROC. Free game. I F with this man. That's awesome. So we got an interesting question here. Let's see. Where is it? Karina wants to know where you can find you on YouTube or get in contact with you.
Well, you just told me to have a YouTube channel.
I told you, man. Gotta get a YouTube. You're doing deals, man. But this is your YouTube debut?
Yeah. No, it's not. I have a rap video on there from 12 or 13 years ago.
Wow. All right. Looking that up.
I think I have a basketball highlight tape. Yeah, it's not good. But yeah, I guess it's my real debut though. But Yeah, I mean, if you just, I don't know if I could put our office number in on here somewhere, or if you just honestly, if you just go to Property Hub AZ on Instagram, you can just DM us on there. That's the easiest because we post on Instagram a lot, and we get that message on there. We just hired somebody that messages on Instagram.
So Matt put your socials on there. So at Big Hunt 29 and his brokerage at Property Hub AZ. People still do it on your website, right? Is it propertyhubaz.com?
Yeah, propertyhubaz.com. They can fill out a little thing on there. It'll send us an email. It's
awesome.
Not that crazy. I'd say Instagram's probably the best.
Okay. And what markets are you JVing at right now?
So right now I'm in Arizona. I mean, Maricopa County a lot, but like I bought some house in Topak, Arizona, which is like a population of, sometimes you just got to buy houses to figure out that you shouldn't have bought the house. But there's a population of less than 2,000. And my lender's like, dude, we don't lend with population under 50,000, man. I was like, well, that really badly on this house. Wow. So luckily he did. He lent me on it. And then it's like 4 hours from here. So, so I don't even, it's like by Parker, Arizona or something. Anyway, we're selling that one now, luckily. But Tucson, I've got a few deals in Tucson that we're remodeling right now. We are going to expand a little more heavily into Tucson because I've got some agents that came over from a Tucson commercial brokerage that came over onto the team, and they know the Tucson market. So it's only an hour and a half away from here, and I've already got a couple flips there. So I love Tucson. I think it's blowing up. They're much cheaper. It's similar to Phoenix pricing like 4 years ago. So Tucson, and then Southern California. I just closed a couple deals in Southern California this month.
Like Inland Empire area, or
Inland Empire and Orange County.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know Northern California very well, but I know Orange County. I've got family and friends and stuff out there. So, but Inland Empire, just the pricing is good there. So I've closed a few deals over there recently. So it's just hard because the way our model is, you really need to. It's hard. The virtual wholesale. I did a deal in New Mexico too. So, wow. We can, but mostly our main focus is Phoenix and Tucson. I can do deals in Southern California. It just takes me longer to get to them because we're focused more on here in Tucson.
Wow, and those are some big price points then, right? Like Orange County.
Yeah. So there could be
that work.
So I mean, just the nice thing is when you do enough deals, you really make good relationships with lenders. So some of my lenders, I called one of my lenders one day. I said, man, I messed up. I got to close 3 houses today. And he got loan docs and closed all 3 of them for me that day. Wow. So when you have a good relationship, I use a company called Clear Mortgage here, but when you have a good relationship with someone like that, they're willing to work with you a little bit and get things done. But to be completely honest, over there, I just assign it because I don't want to close on some of those. But even then, Phoenix is approaching that. We're seeing a lot of stuff that's, like some neighborhoods that were like 200K 4 years ago that are 550 now. So it's just got to bite the bullet and start doing that. So they're approaching California prices in some neighborhoods here. So, but yeah, just lenders. And when you have enough experience with the lenders and you do enough projects, they're willing to lend you more money or take more risk on you and stuff like that. And you don't have to come as much money out of pocket. So that's kind of the problem when you start flipping is you get addicted to buying houses and you're like, oh crap. I had one deal that we bought and I miscalculated our funds for one house and I had to bring 9 checks from like every bank account I had to close on the house. It was funny, but it was at the beginning when we first started. So I took a picture of it with the escrow officers. That was funny but sometimes it's worth the risk. So, but yeah, the bigger ones I like to just assign them. I don't like to close on them.
Awesome. JR says raw and uncut, no bluff. We love it. There's just so many fake people on here, like on social media and Facebook. So everyone's appreciating you just saying it like it is. I don't think a lot of people do that. So Nakia says, are you working with any hedge funds?
That's a good question, actually. So sometimes. I personally am not a huge fan of them because they want 15-day inspection periods. Then they send your contractor out there. It actually takes them 25 days to do it. Then they tell you that they need their rehab cost isn't the same as anyone's because they just use whoever. So their cost to remodel the house that you might think is 20 is like they pay retail to do remodeling. So they're going to come at you with a big decrease, and they want long inspection period. And by the time you're done, the deal doesn't close, or you're better off just moving it to another investor, in my opinion. However, if you can get a deal that's clean and it's similar, it's barely under retail, does not work for a flipper. It might not even really work as a rental because some of those deals investors will buy at a higher price for a rental. But if it's a deal that's pretty clean, it just needs a little bit of touch up. It's a newer build, in the 80s, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom type of deal in Arizona here. If it's got a tile roof, those deals, if they're off market, those ones are what you can move to a hedge fund. So I kind of use them as my like back end. Hey, we got this clean house. It doesn't work for a flip, doesn't work for a rental. We can't really wholesale it, but this hedge fund wants it because they have a specific cap rate. It's usually 4 to 4.25% cap rate that they want to get. And if you can go online and reverse engineer how they came up with their cap rate, then you can kind of figure out their buy box. So I've done a few with them, but I'm like to move quickly. I've held on to deals longer to make more money, and it is very stressful.
Yeah.
So you might be making 50 instead of 40 on a big deal, but then if the hedge fund blows it up, you might lose the deal. So I'd rather just sell them to a flipper. But so in the right situation, if it's a very clean house, close to market price, then that's when I send them to the hedge funds.
Perfect. I don't think a lot of people talk about the downside of hedge funds. That's the first thing I figured out trying to work with them, but that's awesome. JR says, my boy closes deals, wraps, and hoops. It's true. That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's see. Really important question here. I think it's a really good one here is I'm getting into this wholesaling biz, brand new at this. Any one huge advice for a newbie?
I would say if you're starting off and you're calling sellers, that you got to commit to a certain amount of time that you're going to do it, minimum of 2 hours. It has to be a minimum 2 hours. I would say really you want to dedicate 4 hours at least 2 or 3 times a week to calling these sellers and following up on them. And you cannot give up. You have to do it for 3 months minimum. And if it's not working after 3 months, then ideally you would just go seek out help from somebody anyway. But you can try it on your own, but you got to stick with it for at least 3 months, maybe even 6 months, because every deal you lose is a win because you learn something from that. Exactly. So every no you get from a seller, I have been in a cold calling. I worked for a cold calling company before, and I would get 200 no's a day, every day. And and it's a good learning experience because you've experienced all those no's. And I've done a lot of things in real estate where I'm like, I spent 2 years doing that every day. That was stupid, so, yeah. But you have to go through it just to learn. You can't get caught up, and it's important to learn, but I've seen a lot of over learning. You figure out what your game plan is and attack it. I know a lot of people that buy a lot of courses and they watch. It's important to watch videos and stuff. I'm huge on that. I watch YouTube instead of Netflix all the time.
Yeah.
But you can get caught in this never ending hamster wheel of just, got to learn more before I'm going to do it. I've worked at this job for 10 years. I'm not going to do it now. So that's kind of where you want to be careful, but stick to it and don't give up, and don't be afraid to reach out to people for help. I reached out to you for the podcast. You didn't reach out to me.
Oh yeah.
So you can't be afraid to reach out to somebody. You'd be surprised. People are willing to help you, and they're not all trying to make money off you.
Reach out to me, you guys, want to be on the podcast, but you guys show me HUDs. And I was impressed by you. So I think it's pretty good. I think a lot of people are learning here. Jordan Moore says, we close deals. # Property Hub AZ. I'm an agent in Hunter's office. I love working for him. Jordan needs to get back to work. But I think he's heard enough of you. But that's awesome. But yeah, you guys close deals. So that's pretty cool. So are you building like a brand with this? Like, hey, Property Hub AZ, this is the place where you should JV with us, or is that kind of just the brokerage brand?
It's kind of funny when that's the brokerage brand. So we've kind of switched it now because I have other agents here. I just didn't expect us to have that many people this quickly in under 2 years. So I was like, I don't know what's happening. But now we're switching our team to it. I have the brokerage, but within the brokerage, we have a team that focuses on that. So we're setting up our team name, and then we're going to set up I don't know if we're going to call it Flipper Academy, but it's a Flipper Academy type of thing, because we've had so many people approach us for JVs, and we're doing so many JVs with people because everyone wants to flip. It's fun. But now I'm like, wait, I have the deals. Why don't I have the houses. I can flip it with them. I know it's a deal. I'll put skin in the game so they know that they're not getting screwed over, because a lot of investors just are scared to pull the trigger. I'm like, man, I believe in this house. I'm going to put money in it with you. And then you're making your own buyers. And then they're happy. And then more people want to give you money and invest. And then, so we've got a lot of people that wanted to, but when it comes to the branding stuff, we're going to brand our team name. It's hard to come up with team names and stuff, especially when you look at what's trademarked and whatnot. It took me a long time to come up with our brokerage name because everything I wanted was taken. So we'll have our team and the brokerage and the JV stuff. But right now it's just kind of Property Hub is our brokerage. That's where people find us. So
beautiful. So Hunter, thank you so much for coming on. I ask the same question every single time to end it off, because I started out bandit sign kid, $300, spent all that money on bandit signs, went all in this business. I was 17. So let me take you back. Let's say you're 18 years old. You're in Phoenix still. Maybe you're not in college, but if you're back at 18 years old right now with $300 in your bank account, what would you do to become the next Hunter Raisch? What's your step-by-step guide? What are you going to do?
I would go on podcasts like this and do what those people just did, ask questions. And I would message everybody. I would go in these Facebook groups, add people as your friends, and ask them if you can work for them. Just you could. There's no harm in asking like 50 people in your market or wherever you live. Hey, can I work for you? Can I work for you? I was willing to work for free. I didn't even know what I was going to do when I started working for an investor. I'm like, I'll mop the floor. I don't even know anything. I'll do whatever. I just want to be around this because I know I'm going to work hard, and I know I'll outwork. Nobody's going to outwork me no matter what. So I know I'm going to work hard, and I know I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make it work. So, and I mean, like I said, I started this off Craigslist. So don't be afraid to message people. You'd be surprised. A lot of investors are willing to help you, but message them and don't be greedy and don't be looking to come in and interview with them. If you're asking them for a job and they're not hiring, but you call them and say, I will help you. I will be a courier for you. I will help organize your office. I'll take phone calls for you. It will turn into a job and they will hire you and they will pay you. But be willing to work and be willing to do whatever it takes. And don't be afraid to ask, but don't come in there expecting a lot of kids come out of college. Oh, I want to make, $80K salary because of my degree. I'm like, okay, you're just not going to work hard then. I want the people that are like, I'll do anything it takes. I don't know anything. I'll do what it takes. You're going to make a lot more money than the other people that come in, demanding. So I would say ask anybody you can for help. Find a mentor type person as early as you can. Would have shaved off a little bit of time for me instead of drinking too much in college. But yeah, that's my best advice. Ask anybody and everybody in real estate if there's anything you can do to help them, even if it's for free. And then just immerse yourself, be around that environment. Even if you don't know what they're talking about, just be near them and you'll pick up things, and then they're going to see that and they're going to want to help you. Okay.
And starting, because you've kind of done both routes here, would you get exclusively into wholesaling or would you get into the brokerage type thing? What kind of path would you go starting out if you had to do it over again?
I would wholesale. Okay. I mean, I just think that to me, wholesaling is the root of everything. It's the hardest. You learn the most work ethic from there. You have to overcome the most. If you can go from wholesaling and getting deals directly to seller, which can be very difficult to do, and you can get good enough at that, everything else in real estate is a joke. It's so easy after you do that. You go into flipping, you're like, this is a joke. This is so easy. No one's screaming at me. So that to me, starting off in wholesaling, whatever capacity it is with a real estate company or just a wholesaling company, learning that. And, you might not, depending on what you're doing, even if I would say cold calling on the phones, being willing to do anything involved in real estate. But yeah, I would definitely start off wholesaling because you learn so much and you have so many conversations. And then after that, you can evolve into doing whatever you want. But if you wholesale and you end up being if you can wholesale and you're a real estate agent, you're going to be a lot better than normal real estate agents that have only just traditional, because I can't tell you how easy traditional transactions are for everybody in my brokerage that's done wholesale. This is a joke. I'm like, yeah, negotiating with a realtor is a lot easier. So that's how you level up the most.
Boom. That's it. Hunter Raisch, thank you so much for coming on. It means so much that you came on here, dropped the value. Thank you so much. And guys, check them out, Property Hub AZ. You want to join them, go check them out, propertyhubaz.com. Thank you so much. Any parting last thoughts for the audience before we hop off?
No, if you're watching this, I would say keep watching these and learn from people and gather information and stick with it. But my biggest advice is don't be scared. So I tell people, don't be scared. What do you have to lose if you jump ship somewhere and start trying to do this? Nothing. You can go get that same job again in 5 minutes, especially right now. There's a lot of companies hiring that people don't want to work for. So I would say don't be scared to jump ship. There's people there for you that'll catch you and help you do it. And you'll never regret not trying to do real estate, or you'll never regret trying to do it and then it not working out. But there's a lot of people when they get a little bit older that are like, man, I wish I started doing real estate like you. So especially if you're young, I would say jump in immediately.
Boom. Hunter, thank you so much for coming on. Have a great one.